testing me. It tells me that I'm never ever alone. I'm learning how Jesus came down to us and gave his best. Without a doubt the best friend you'll ever know. Our God knows exactly what I need, so I remember this. Let's go! When you ask, he cares. When you see, he's there. When you knock, 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 God opens up the door. When you ask, he cares. When you see, he's there. When you knock, 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 God opens up the door. Oh, oh. I'm reading my B-I-B-L-E, and this is what it says to me. It tells me that I'm never ever alone. I'm learning how Jesus came down to us and gave his best. Without a doubt, the best friend you'll ever know. Our God knows exactly what I need, so I remember this. Let's go! When you ask, he cares. When you seek, he's there. When you knock, 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 God opens up the door. When you ask, he cares. When you seek, he's there. When you knock, 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 God opens up the door. Oh, oh. When you ask, he cares. When you seek, he's there. When you knock, 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 God opens up the door. When you ask, he cares. When you seek, he's there. When you knock, 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 God opens up the door. God knows exactly what I need, so I remember this. Let's go! When you ask, he cares. When you seek, he's there. When you knock, 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 God opens up the door. When you ask, he cares. When you seek, he's there. When you knock, 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 God opens up the door. Oh, oh. You opened up the door. You opened up the door. Oh, oh.
Today's Bible story is about a woman who's not named. Her name's never listed in the Bible, but I think she's pretty brave and has great faith. And this story is found in the book of Luke, and it's found in chapter 8. It's a short story, but it has a lot to unpack. So today we're going to read our story right from the Bible. Luke chapter 8, starting at verse 40. Now, when Jesus returned, a crowd welcomed him, for they were all expecting him. Then a man named Jairus, a synagogue leader, came and fell at Jesus' feet, pleading with him to come to his house because his only daughter, a girl of about 12, was dying. As Jesus was on his way, the crowds almost crushed him. So that means they were all like crowding in, and it was like really like person to person. And a woman was there who had been subject to bleeding for 12 years and had spent all she had on doctors. But no one could heal her. She came up behind him and touched the edge of his cloak, and immediately her bleeding stopped. "Who touched me?" Jesus asked. When they all denied it, Peter said, "Master, the people are crowding and pressing against you." But Jesus said, "Someone touched me. I know that power has gone out from me."
Darth Vader crossed the road because he wanted to get to the dark side. What grades did the pirate get in school? High easy. Why didn't Melon jump into the lake? To be a watermelon.
It wanted to be a watermelon?
Yeah.
Oh, good one.
Hey guys, what's your tornado's favorite game? Twister.
Then the woman, seeing that she could not go unnoticed, came trembling and fell at his feet. In the presence of all the people, she told why she had touched him and how she had been instantly healed. Then he said to her, "Daughter, your faith has healed you. Go in peace." While Jesus was still speaking, someone came from the house of Jairus, the synagogue leader. "Your daughter is dead," he said. "Don't bother the teacher anymore." Hearing this, Jesus said to Jairus, "Don't be afraid, just believe, and she will be healed." When he arrived at the house of Jairus, he did not let anyone go in with him except Peter, John, and James, and the child's father and mother. Meanwhile, all the people were wailing and mourning for her. "Stop wailing," Jesus said. "She is not dead, but asleep." They laughed at him, knowing that she really was dead. But he took her by the hand and said, "My child, get up." Her spirit returned, and at once she stood up. Then Jesus told them to give her something to eat. Her parents were astonished, but he ordered them not to tell anyone what had happened. There we are, the story of the woman who had a sickness of bleeding for 12 years, took a big step to reach out, find Jesus, touch just the hem of his gown, and she was healed because of her great faith.
Pastor Todd, what's your favorite animal?
My favorite animal is a cow.
I grew up on a farm and I love cows because they are hilarious and they're just so much fun. I can talk for hours about cows, but no, I won't do that now.
You could talk for hours about cows. That's funny. Good job. I know about cow sound. It goes. Okay, now here's a good one. You put on that thinking cap, Pastor Todd. What is 798 plus 23 minus 62 times 297?
Write it down.
798 plus 23 minus 62. What?
Unfortunately, that's not in my portfolio. I'm not a calculator, but that is a very good question.
Okay, Pastor Todd, you've been doing great. Here's another question coming your way.
What is your favorite tale of bravery in the Bible?
My favorite tale of bravery from the Bible is the story of Gideon. Gideon was asked to lead the Israelites into battle against a very large enemy, and God told him a few times that your army is too big. And so Gideon went into battle with only 300 men when his enemy was like the sand of the sea, and he still followed God even in those ridiculous odds.
Oh, this is going good. I think it's time for a little bit of refreshments here. I got my water juice. He seems to be doing pretty good. He's pretty good. Now, next time, we're going to ask Pastor Todd some more questions. Okay, and you at home, thanks for joining us. See you next time on ET Kids Channel News with Miss Fix-It, where broken things, they gets a fixin'. You'll think. Bye for now.
Hey boys and girls, it is Miss Shalana, and that means it is time for us to do a very cool science experiment. Now, I have to give you a warning for our experiment this week. If you are wanting an experiment where you're going to see immediate results and something really cool happen right away, this is not the experiment for you. Sometimes science experiments happen right away and we can see something really cool happen like that. and other times they take time. Now, if you decide that you want to try this experiment at home, you have to be patient because this experiment is actually going to take a few days to complete. We're going to get it started today, but if you are starting at home today, it's going to take a few days for you to be able to see the results. So you're going to be able to check in on it every day or so until you see what happens. If you are just watching along with me, you are going to see the magic of video in that a few days is going to happen in a few minutes, okay? So for our experiment this week, you are going to need
A glass, preferably see-through, right, so that we can actually see the experiment as it happens. You are going to need 1 raw egg, meaning I just took this out of the fridge. It is not hard-boiled, not cooked, a raw egg, so be careful, don't drop it. And you are going to need some vinegar. Okay, those are the only 3 things that you are going to need.
Now, to get our experiment started, the first thing that you are going to do is you are going to very carefully, don't drop it because we don't want to crack it, very carefully place the egg inside your glass. Okay, don't just throw it in there or we'll crack the shell. We don't want to crack the shell.
Okay, now we are going to take our vinegar and we are going to pour it over our egg. And we want enough vinegar to try to cover the whole egg. The egg's going to start to float a little bit. Perfect. So we can see that the vinegar is just covering the egg. Now we are going to find a safe space on a counter somewhere where it won't get bumped or knocked over. And we are actually going to leave it for 12 to 24 hours. Okay, so you will notice immediately you start to see some bubbles form around the eggshell. Can you see those bubbles forming? Now, vinegar is what we call an acid. It's a very weak acid. We can eat vinegar, right? Maybe some of you like to put it on your french fries and eat it. It tastes really good. But it is an acid. And we are going to see something really cool happen to the eggshell because of vinegar being an acid. So I'm going to go set this on my counter and I'm going to have to come and check in tomorrow and see how it looks.
12 to 24 hours later.
This is what it looks like now. So you can see the egg there covered in bubbles. On the top, we have kind of a white foam, and that's actually the eggshell. So the acid is breaking down the eggshell and turning it into this foam. Now, if you're brave and you're doing this at home, you can touch it. You're gonna wanna wash your hands after though, because they're going to be kind of slimy and smell like vinegar. So I'm gonna reach in and I'm gonna touch and pull out my egg here. And if you do that, be really gentle with it. You can start to slowly and carefully rub the egg, and you're gonna notice
that the eggshell is no longer that. Look at this squishy egg. So we just put it out raw egg now with no eggshell. So be very careful not to drop it. But we can carefully rub the actual remaining part of the shell off of our egg. See that coming off? It's kind of squishy. Now I'm gonna rub the shell off. That's pretty cool in itself. I think that the vinegar, because it's an acid, breaks down the shell and just leaves this really thin membrane. You can kind of see the yellow yolk inside the egg there. So I'm gonna rub this off and you can kind of squish it really carefully. Don't squeeze too hard or it's gonna pop. But I'm gonna put it back into my vinegar for another day. I'm gonna check in tomorrow and see what it looks like. So if you're doing this by yourself at home, you can be really careful and rub the shell off. That's why I'm actually rubbing off. Look at my finger. That's the eggshell coming off my finger. Isn't that cool? You can, if you want to as well, run it under on the top to get rid of this. So that's probably what I'm gonna do to get all this
eggshell off the egg really carefully and off my fingers. And then I'm gonna put it back into our vinegar and we're gonna check in on it tomorrow. Hey boys and girls, okay, today is an exciting day because we are finishing our egg and vinegar experiment. And it has now been 2 whole days that our egg has been in our vinegar. That is 48 hours, okay? 2 days later, we are gonna take it out and we are going to play around with it a little bit, see if we can't make a mess. So, we saw our egg yesterday, we checked in on it, we started to rub the shell off, right? I rinsed it under some water, put it back in our vinegar, and it has been sitting here ever since. So we're gonna take a look at what it looks like now. So let's take it out. Remember, you can take it out if you want to. Your fingers are just gonna get a little smelly like vinegar. So I'm gonna set my vinegar aside, we don't need that anymore. This is just a cup of regular tap water. I'm just gonna kind of dip it in my tap water to clean it up a little bit. Get the last little bits of remaining shell off. But hopefully if you tried this at home, you can now see that there is no shell left on our egg at all. All we have is this thin, what's called a membrane. And we may be wondering, why does this work? Well, eggshells are made up of something called calcium carbonate. Can you say that? Calcium carbonate. That's some fancy science words right there. And what vinegar does is vinegar actually breaks apart the calcium carbonate in the eggshell. And that's what that white foam stuff was that we saw yesterday. That was the calcium carbonate being broken apart into calcium and carbon dioxide. Okay, so we now have our egg. First of all, if you are doing this at home, make sure you take some time to squeeze the egg gently, right? It feels pretty cool. It's kind of like a bouncy ball, but it's just a raw egg. Now, this is the part I'm a little bit nervous for. So deciding, I guess you and your parents or guardians can decide if you want to try this at home based on how it goes. For me, let me make the mess, not you. Apparently they are now supposed to be kind of bouncy. Doesn't that seem kind of scary? I was always told growing up that you had to be really careful with eggs to not drop them because they could break. And now it doesn't even have a shell to protect it if I'm gonna drop it. But I am gonna drop it on my table. I'm feeling bold. Sometimes in science you have to be able to take a risk a little bit, even if it means making a bit of a mess. So, apparently they are supposed to become a little bit bouncy. So I'm gonna start pretty low in case it does break, it won't splatter everywhere. And let's see if it's a little bit bouncy. Did you see that? It did bounce. Okay, I'm getting a bit more bold. I'm gonna go a little bit higher. Look at that! We made like a homemade egg bouncy ball. That's pretty cool. Ah! Ah! Oh! Well, it was cool. There's egg pouring on my lap. I think that was totally worth the mess that I now have to clean up. So it does bounce, but it is still a raw egg, so you have to be careful how high you go. I got a little bit too bold, and it is now dripping down onto my legs. But something interesting, we can see this membrane, right? That's that thin membrane that was holding that raw egg together. And since the shell would usually be on the outside of this, we dissolved the shell away, and all it was left was this really thin membrane, so that's pretty cool too. Kind of feels like thin rubber, almost like a balloon. So, if you do this at home, I highly recommend it. It is a lot of fun. It might get a little bit messy, so you're gonna have to be prepared to clean up your mess. But if you do it at home, send us a photo or a video. I would love to see your homemade egg bouncy balls.
What do I like? I don't know.